In a small village nestled between lush hills, Nneka was known for her beauty. Her skin was smooth and radiant, like polished bronze, and her eyes sparkled with a mysterious depth. Her hair was thick, braided into neat rows adorned with beads, swaying with every step she took. She often wore brightly colored wrappers that accentuated her elegant figure. One evening, while fetching water from the river, she heard a strange hissing sound. Curiosity drew her closer to the water's edge. There, she saw a serpent coiled beneath a large rock. Its scales shimmered in the dim light. Nneka's heart raced, but she felt strangely unafraid. The serpent raised its head and spoke in a low, soothing voice. "Beautiful Nneka," it whispered, "I have watched you for years. You deserve power, wealth, and beauty beyond your wildest dreams." Nneka, intrigued, asked what the serpent wanted in return. It coiled closer, its eyes glowing. "You must become my bride, and I will grant you everything your heart desires," it said. Nneka hesitated. The offer was tempting, but something about it felt dangerous. Yet, her desire for power and wealth overpowered her fear. "I accept," she whispered. The serpent hissed in delight, its eyes flashing. "Then it is done," it said, disappearing into the water. That night, Nneka dreamed of riches and beauty far beyond her imagination. The next morning, Nneka awoke to find a beautiful necklace by her bedside, gleaming like sunlight. She put it on and felt a surge of power flowing through her. When she looked in the mirror, her face seemed more radiant than before. Villagers who saw her that day were mesmerized by her beauty, whispering among themselves in awe. But Nneka noticed something strange. Her reflection in the river shimmered, and her eyes gleamed like a serpent's. As Nneka continued to wear the necklace, her beauty only grew, but with it came strange occurrences. At night, she heard whispers calling her name, always near the river. The serpent would appear in her dreams, reminding her of their pact. One evening, as she bathed in the river, her skin felt cold, and for a moment, her body seemed to shimmer like the serpent's scales. The villagers began to grow suspicious. Strange events seemed to follow Nneka wherever she went. Crops withered when she passed, and the village's wells dried up overnight. Even the village elders began to worry, sensing an evil presence around her. Despite the growing fear, Nneka reveled in her newfound beauty and power, ignoring the warning signs. One night, the serpent reappeared in Nneka's hut, larger and more menacing than before. "You have enjoyed my gifts, but now it is time to pay the price," it hissed. Nneka recoiled in fear, realizing the true cost of her deal. The serpent demanded that she bring it a sacrifice, her closest friend, or face dire consequences. Nneka was torn. Her friend Amara had been with her since childhood, but the serpent's curse loomed over her. She could not escape it. She visited Amara the next day, her heart heavy with guilt. Amara welcomed her warmly, unaware of the danger lurking behind Nneka's eyes. Nneka led Amara to the river under the guise of a peaceful walk. As they stood by the water, Nneka hesitated, her heart pounding. But the serpent's voice echoed in her mind, urging her to act. With a sudden push, she shoved Amara into the water. Nneka felt a deep unease as she stood at the riverbank. The serpent's eyes glittered, awaiting her decision. "Make your choice," the serpent hissed softly. "But no, once you accept this, there is no going back." Nneka's heart pounded as she thought of the jealousy she had felt, the anger that had burned inside her. She looked down at her reflection in the river, and for a moment she saw not herself, but a shadowed figure, Amara. The memory of her friend's laughter echoed in her mind, but it was quickly drowned out by the serpent's words. "You will be the most beautiful in the village, more than Amara ever was." Nneka inhaled deeply, her fingers trembling as she reached toward the serpent. "I accept," she whispered. The serpent's eyes flashed with triumph. It slithered closer and wrapped its cold body around her arm. As soon as it made contact, Nneka felt a sharp pain shoot through her body, as if venom was coursing through her veins. Nneka gasped, but as the pain intensified, she could feel her skin shifting, her features transforming. When she finally looked down at her reflection again, she was unrecognizable. She was beautiful, just as the serpent had promised. But it came at a cost. Nneka collapsed on the riverbank, guilt weighing heavily on her. She couldn't believe she had betrayed Amara. The serpent slithered away, whispering dark promises. Your beauty and power will grow, but you must be prepared for what follows. Nneka knew that her path was set. There was no turning back now. She had traded friendship and trust for vanity and power. Days passed, and Amara's absence did not go unnoticed. The villagers began to murmur and cast suspicious glances at Nneka. They noticed her beauty had grown even more, but there was a strangeness about her now. Her eyes had an unnatural gleam, and animals avoided her presence. The elders gathered in secret to discuss the strange events. Amara's disappearance and Nneka's sudden transformation were no coincidence. One night, as Nneka wandered by the river, a cold wind blew, and the water rippled unnaturally. From the depths, a familiar figure emerged. Amara. Her eyes glowed with a pale light, and her face was twisted in pain. Why, Nneka? She asked, her voice a hollow echo. Why did you betray me? Nneka staggered back, her heart pounding with guilt. Amara, please forgive me, she cried, tears streaming down her face. But Amara's face twisted into a grim smile. Forgiveness is not yours to ask. The serpent owns you now. With that, Amara's figure slowly faded into the mist, leaving Nneka alone once more. Nneka could not escape the torment. Everywhere she went, she saw Amara's face in the shadows, heard her voice in the wind. At night, her dreams were filled with the sound of the river and the serpent's cold voice, reminding her of the terrible choice she had made. She could feel herself changing. Her beauty grew sharper, almost unnatural, but her skin became cold and her eyes gleamed like a serpent's. The village elders had seen enough. They summoned Nneka to their council, determined to uncover the truth behind the strange happenings. We have heard the whispers, Nneka, the oldest elder said, his voice heavy with authority. Tell us, what have you done? Nneka trembled, knowing that the truth could destroy her. The serpent's power was now a part of her, but its darkness followed closely. The elders exchanged uneasy glances. There is darkness around you, child, one of them finally said. You must leave this village at once.